Hello and welcome to my show today. I am Natasha Venter and I love to help people go through life. And this is my show, Life Clarifications with Natasha. And if you're looking for podcasts, you can look for same title as this, Life Clarifications with Natasha, because I have all my shows on podcast. I don't do any short videos or anything like that on podcasts, but yet I do all these shows. So if you don't catch this show, or if you know someone who only listens to podcasts, you can use this as a podcast. So welcome to everything that we're going to work on today. So today, me being a psychic medium, personal awareness life coach, I notice things, I witness things. And as I witness things, hi, Veronica, thank you for being here and supporting me. When we're going through life, there's these things, and I've been doing a mantra a week. I had a guest on last week, so I wasn't on Instagram, but I am on today. So with that, when we're going through life and managing our life, my mantra last week was, I value myself. Because a lot of times we don't necessarily value ourselves. We're trying to help everybody else, doing the things with everybody else, right? Well, going through life and managing our life, sometimes we have to value us and make choices for us, right? And, it's not always easy because of the fact that us, especially for women, are people pleasers, and you men who are watching or will watch are there is that kind of trying to do right by us women, or and if your partners, in any form, gay, lesbian, LPGD, it doesn't matter what it is, because there's always going to be someone who does one thing and then another who doesn't, or does, and hopefully we can find a balance in that, right? Because of the fact that, hopefully you find a partner where you have your weaknesses and they have that opposite as a strength for them. And then if they don't have that, and then if they have a weakness and then you're their strength, right? Well, you hope for a relationship like that, but it doesn't always pan out that way, because we have moods and emotions and we have all these things that are going on, right? So with that as we're going forward in our life, that, there's these moments of figuring out how can we do things. So with that, this show, because I had so much that happened last week, I wanted to share it, but I had a guest on. That last week's mantra being, I value myself. Well, one thing when we're working on something, like this week's mantra is, I am allowing myself to be perfectly imperfect, right? That's this week's mantra. So this week's mantra, I'm allowing myself to be perfectly imperfect. Well, it kind of almost goes into that same story of, I value myself, right? And so with that, maybe these two kind of mix up and can be together so that we can manage ourselves. But when, one thing that I notice when we're working on something for thyself, that we're working on, that it is our journey, that usually our outer world shows us an opposite or a balance of that, right? So with that when we're working on something, think about things as a balance. Because I know for me that as soon as I started doing that mantra, I value myself. Oy, oy, oy. You know, things just started piling up. And then, oh, wait a minute. There was also the full moon eclipse. So, full moon and eclipses. Oh, who had a ride that week? Last Monday. I know it was last Monday, but for some reason, I keep circling around to last week. And last week's emotions and all that, you know, I know that I was on a roller coaster ride personally, and it's not that I'm wanting any sympathy, because I do the work just along with everybody else. So last week's mantra was with that full moon eclipse, which is basically breaking things apart. What do you want to break apart to rebuild? And I can tell you that when you have the eclipses attached to any new moon or full moon, that energy sticks with you for about another 6 weeks or so. So whatever last week, and this is one reason why I want to talk with people about this, is because when we're navigating the waters of what happened last week, well, we're going to have that pattern or something that's going to kind of be, I don't know what you want to say, but it kind of keeps circling around. Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you got it? Are you sure you want to do that? You sure you got it? And I know for me, I value myself. I value myself. Well, what was showing up was, do the things outside of me value me? And do I value the things outside of me? Just like this week's mantra is, I'm allowing myself to be perfectly imperfect. It doesn't mean that we can just go, I'm getting away with it, right? No, it means that I'm allowing myself, because we are, so many of us are perfectionists. And so with that I wanted to kind of give that grace for people who are perfectionists. I'm perfectly imperfect. Heck, I made even a flubble during that video because of the fact that being dyslexic, I have to kind of give myself a lot of grace, right? And so with that being perfectly imperfect, but how many people outside of us want us to be perfectionists? And how many times do we come up to a story and say, why aren't you doing that right? So if I'm working on being perfectly imperfect, I have to allow the people outside of me to be perfectly imperfect. I have to allow the things around me to be perfectly imperfect. Right? So with that there is this give and take when you're working on something. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're working on getting sober, well, you're going to notice that there's other people outside of you that want you to drink more, right? Or take drugs or whatever you're trying to get sobriety from, right? So if you're trying to do better, then you're going to have the opposite is telling, are you sure you want to do this, right? So valuing yourself. Am I being valued? No, my friends, if they're doing that, are not valuing me, right? So with that really looking at how things are valued. And that's one thing that I noticed with a scenario. And I'm going to be try to be careful here because I want to make sure that people know that I do respect privacy and I do respect and honor people's journeys, because I know for me that things haven't played out, right? Things haven't all played out. All my endings that happened last week have not played out to be coming forth in what's going to happen, right? Because I might be put in a better place, right? We never know what's going to happen in the journey of our life. That if something ends, we have to be patient and see what the universe is going to bring in. Now, for me, this one thing that ended, and it was an ouch, and it took me down into, I'm not feeling valued in a certain situation, right? Hello on Instagram. And that's the thing is that now, I have language. Okay, so I'm going to give an example that, there was something that got taken away from me at a situation. And now I have not seen what's going to be replacing it yet. And that thing was something that I felt very valued doing. I felt very valuable doing this for this person, right? But that person got taken away from me. Because I'm helping people, I'm helping situations, right? And I'm trying to be not give you the full story. So don't worry about logistics here, right? And so now that my supervisor hasn't been, because I do something during the day here, that my supervisor has been out for over a week because of illnesses or whatever. I'm not for me to say, but that the logistics of that, I have not found what's going to be replaced yet because that person hasn't. But I'm going to tell you though, giving me this week, I've really felt, where am I being valued in that scenario? And I'm checking in with that. Where am I being valued? Am I being valued? Now, my communication with this person is going to depend on what happens next. So if I just say, well, why don't you just go do da 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 da? Can I mention something to you? I'm really feeling kind of devalued here, right? So if that's scenario A, I'm going to call it. I'm going to maybe mention that. because I care about them. I care about me. I care about the scenario. I care about what I'm doing, right? Now, if another scenario comes up, I'm going to be saying thank you. I know that I can make my better wherever I'm at because that's me. I try to bring out the better wherever I'm at. And when we're going through places and not feeling necessarily totally valued in the scenario of gifts and love and journeys, that there's this dance that we have to do. Do we have to be mean about it? No. But that's the thing is that sometimes I love how the universe gives us time to think about it so we don't go into reaction. We can go into interaction. And when we can go into interaction, then we have more of a willingness or an able to, what's the word? Uh, Flow. That's a better word. Flow with what's happening, right? So now other things were showing me. Okay. So I'm going to give the example of my cat. My cat ended up attacking me. I was feeding her. I was getting ready to feed her. I was getting things ready. I was getting the can open. I was getting the her plate, a plate out, clean plate out, and everything. And I wasn't doing it fast enough. And a good thing I had jeans on because she attacked me. Value. Does she value me? She's a cat. And as cats say, you're my owner. But at the same time, though, value. But do I value her and what she's giving me? Now, the question was, if she can't give me what I'm looking for, why am I not, communicating better with my dog? Why am I not communicating better with my husband? Why am I not communicating with my friends? Am I valuing the people? Now, if she can't give it to me, am I valuing the people around me? Food for thought, right? Because the fact that when we're going through these stories and going through these journeys in life, that, sometimes something shows you that they cannot be available. And yet we just say there and become the victim of that scenario, right? We don't necessarily go into where, where can I get those different stories in another place? Text a friend, spend more time with my husband, spend more time with my dog, go another place. Because if they don't value me, where can I go to get more value? Now, I'm going to say that there's other scenarios that happened that basically one time, one thing took my legs out from underneath me, right? Because it was a full moon. Seems like I had something on the night before the full moon, the night of the full moon, and then the morning of the full moon, because the full moon hit around like 4 a.m. for West Coast time, right? And so with that, as we were going through life, that I had something that happened before that I wanted to say, I'm done with this. And then something in the morning, that scenario that I told you about, um, that, that, I had bookends of things that were complete endings for me. But it really made me think about, where am I being valued? Who am I valuing? Am I valuing myself? Am I valuing others? So sometimes we don't need to change something a lot. Sometimes all we need to do is shift something. Let's say a friend. Do you value your friend? Well, when they're trying to talk to me about something serious, am I texting on the phone? Or do I put down the phone and look to them, not at them, but to them, for them, and honor them? Do I value you? Do you value me? Now, I'm going to say that sometimes when we have scenarios like this where we're not being valued left or right, or up or down, or in or out, right? That sometimes we have to check in and put good boundaries up. Put up good boundaries so that you can manage where things are at. Because of the fact that sometimes people have rotten days and they're not going to be there better. We're not going to value the scenario around us. Like me yesterday. I had a really rough day and I was having an emotional off day. Today seems to be an emotional off day for a lot of people around me, but yesterday was my day to be emotionally off. I guess I have it before everybody else does, right? So I can set up so I can be better for that. Well, I valued the man who works hard for me and supports me as a family, right? I work hard for him. He works hard for me. We work hard for each other. He works hard for himself. I work hard for myself, right? So with that there's that give and take. But I valued that. So instead of suffering through dinner and getting in another argument, I went and got pizza. So with that as we're going in our life and managing our life, and we're talking about how can we value? How can we value as people are joining on Instagram? Hello on Instagram. And anybody else who's now joining, that, it's not about being right. It's about stepping back. It's about stepping into our lives a little bit different. And when we can do that by valuing the stuff around us, like, do we value our bed or do we get angry with it? Do we value our bodies? Or do we get angry with them? Let's say if you get a tummy ache and you get mad at your body for having a tummy ache. Well, what's the reason for getting a tummy ache? How are you eating? How are you drinking? How are you doing things in life? You can only get mad if there's no cause for it that you're doing, right? Well, even then there's something reason. So next week's show on Monday Pacific time, we're Regan and I, which we're not on Instagram, but you can go to my YouTube channel to watch 4 o'clock Pacific time, that we're going to talk about DNA, family DNA and DNA of past life. I think that's what we're going to talk about. DNA, karma, and past lives. So it's about the DNA and in our family and our past lives. Kind of the same thing. It's going to be an interesting conversation because that's where I do a lot of healing in. So going forward and managing our witnessing of our life and valuing who we are. Well, valuing who we are, I thought it was kind of interesting how this next mantra came was, I'm allowing myself to be perfectly imperfect. Well, isn't that a form of value? I'm allowing myself to be perfectly imperfect. I'm allowing myself to be my humanness. I'm allowing myself to be the one who is learning how to do life. I was driving down the road today and I saw some middle schoolers, and that these middle schoolers don't necessarily value us adults. They think they know it all, right? And yet they've only been on this planet for maybe 15, 14, 13 years, right? But they think they know it all. They don't value our team, they don't value our knowledge that we may be, maybe 15, 20, 30 years older than them. Yes, they may be smarter in some ways because they have different life experiences than maybe I had. But that doesn't mean that I disvalued their knowledge for what they've gained, but value what I have. And that's the thing I'm hoping that we can, thanks, Bev. It sounds interesting. It kind of does, doesn't it? And it was a very interesting week of researching or witnessing life. Because like I said, when we are putting what's the word? An intention of doing in our lives, an intention of going forward, it's really interesting how life shows us. You got it? You think you got it? Maybe you need to look at this perspective. Maybe you need to look at that perspective. Maybe you need to turn the coin around, flip it upside down and really look at the dark side of this. And I can tell you that last week with that full moon eclipse, that the universe was sure making me look at the dark side of value. Can you believe that there's a dark side to value? There's a dark side to everything, right? There's a dark side to everything because if you are going through and learning and practicing something, the universe is going to really make sure you're thinking about it, especially nowadays, because of the fact that we're really waking up our own truths. We're not having the truths of our parents anymore. We're not having the truths of coworkers and best friends. We're having truths of ourselves and what we bring into this world, what we're gaining in this world, right? So going forward in our knowing that life is always going to be showing us something. So please, if you can, when you're going through, and that's one thing that I was looking at was is that like when the example happened at my day job, my morning job, that when that scenario happened and something got taken away, you know what the first question I asked? And it pretty much popped in my head right away. How much longer am I going to be here? Hmm. So sometimes things are happening to help us get irritated enough to not be there anymore. Hmm. 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 Food for thought, huh? Life is very, very up, down, in and out, flip flopped around. And, we're in the middle of that. Last week was the full moon eclipse. So we're now coming into the new moon. So whatever was ending, this scenario is giving a chance to begin. So probably this next Monday or Tuesday will be the new moon, which will be bringing new ideas and new witnessing, right? So going forward in who we are, it's amazing these stories that are coming up. So value. Please look at that. Do you value what you have? Because many of us keep wishing we had something different. But really, until you value what you have, you don't get much new. Hmm. We don't have to value it for very long, right? We don't have to value it for very long because of the fact that sometimes it is just holding space for it right that minute. Holding space for it right that minute. Life is happening around us. And all we can do is be the better us. And that's why I wanted this week's mantra to be I'm allowing myself to be perfectly imperfect. A lot of times I ask the universe, what would you like me to be? What would you me like to have as a mantra for the week? And it's interesting what ends up coming in and at certain times. Because if I didn't have that mantra last week, I'm valuing myself. I'm valuing myself. I might not have had the perspective that I did walking through those experiences. Now, if I would have had a different experience, that's what I was supposed to have, right? Because of the fact that we never know what experience we're going to have or what reasoning for things. So, with that, going through the journey of life and going through what we're going through, think about how can we help the scenarios around us to do better. Because I know for me, let's say if my supervisor comes back and tells me one thing, well, it's about creating loving boundaries and asking to be valued. Am I being valued in that position? I've been there the longest. In the scenario that a lot of people are working through right now, I'm living it. When you're a dyslexic for over 50 years, you kind of know something about it because the fact that I witnessed many other people having dyslexia over the last 20, 30 years. So I've taken a kind of a bag and kind of gotten my own knowing about it. I should have wrote a book about it, but Being a dyslexic, who can write a book? Right? Who can write a book? Oh, I just got an idea. Hmm. I need to actually find somebody who can type for me while I'm writing a book, while I'm talking, right? Or describe or transcribe what I'm putting down. Okay, calling that in because I have an understanding of what I could write about. Thank you, universe. I love ideas actually that wants to bring tears to my eyes. See, bing, moments of knowing, right? So with this, that knowing our journey and being who we are, life is not going to be straightforward. And actually, right now, with Mars in retrograde, because of the is it Mars? Yes, Mars is in retrograde, which is about the man of war and anger and frustration. So be careful of anger and frustration because it's actually in Gemini. So Gemini is about the mind. It's an air sign. So it's about overthinking things and overthink and overdoing and over appreciate or over analyzing and that kind of stuff. And that's probably why I'm circling back around to last week because of the fact that I don't want it to happen again. It will. It will happen again. But I'm hoping that my understanding of how to negotiate through it will happen a little bit differently because of the fact that I value myself. I'm willing to value those around me for what they're making choices for. I'm valuing the perfectly imperfect that I am, and then being perfectly imperfect around other things. So there again, if I know that I can do something, I better stand up and be able to do it, right? So I'm going to value myself. If I'm not good at something, then value somebody else's position and say, you know what, maybe somebody else can do that better than I, but I know I can do this better. And that's where I trust my intuitiveness. That's where I trust that part of me that knows what to do. And I can tell you that everybody else has that inner voice that says, maybe you should do this. Maybe you should do that, right? It's a quiet little voice. Because I know a lot of you are intuitive, but you go, no, I'm not. Kind of brush it under the rug, right? So knowing that we're all going to be in this dance, figuring out who we are. So with that, valuing ourselves, which means if we're going to value ourselves, we have to look at valuing others. If we're going to value the things around the things that are my personal stuff, I'm going to have to value the things in the personal stuff of other people. If I'm going to ask to have valued my time, I'm going to have to value other people's time. If I'm going to value my emotions and my scenarios, I'm going to have to honor and value other people's emotions and time. If I'm going to be perfectly imperfect, I'm going to have to I'll be aware that other people are going to be perfectly imperfect and I can't judge. I can support, I can help, I can dance with it, right? If I'm going to be perfectly imperfect about my job, I'm going to have to ask that or kind of expect that others aren't going to be the same. If I'm going to be perfectly imperfect with my driving, yeah, you got to be careful about that one, right? But I have to give grace. So, like, let's say at a four-way stop, two people come up at the same time. Who goes first? The person on the right, right? But I can also understand that people are going to be perfectly imperfect and do a California stop, as it's called, where they don't really truly stop. And instead of getting frustrated and pissed off with them, go, oh, well, I sometimes do the same thing. All we can do is negotiate these values and negotiate the story of who we are. Because we are perfectly imperfect. We are this journey. Now, if you're looking for mantras, because I have been posting on my website, that if you want to know what the past website um, mantras have been, they're on my website. Also, if you want to go to my YouTube channel, Natasha Venter, Angelic Clarifications, then you can get videos for those mantras. And I'll explain a little bit more, a little bit what those intentions are for those mantras for the week. Because of the fact that there's sometimes a perspective when I say I'm allowing myself to be perfectly imperfect. Your own perception is what it goes to, which is great. But sometimes, it's nice to get a little bit other perspective. The sky's kind of pretty tonight. Setting of the sun. It's an interesting process, isn't it? Last night I did a video about the sun setting and how, are we thankful? Thankful for what we have. Thankful what those little things that happen. Thankful that, like for me, having certain scenarios that somebody said, I called you. Got a leaf in my boot. you know, when I knew who I needed to call was you. And I'm grateful that people have that perspective because that's who I like to be. That's why I do this as a profession too. So if you're looking for some guidance and some help, I would love to support you in a private conversation with a session if you're looking for some support that way. So with that I have something that I got to run off to do after this day, after this show. So I'm going to start pulling cards early. So on Instagram, if you're looking for some oracle cards, I can pull some oracle cards. So the dragons want to come today. I have this new deck that was given to me, Earth Magic. These are very good cards, Earth Magic. And I'll read on those. And then, Gentle Creatures. I have given this deck out to two people, and they both have been loving it because they're both in a place where, isn't that cute? Where they are struggling. And these gentle creatures just have a loving, kind message. So if you're looking at getting some intuitive help through oracle cards, Earth Magic, please. I will, Jen, Veronica, that you can have that. So what I ask for is I don't need to know what you're wanting to know, but Bev, I'll get you gentle creatures after I do Veronica. Thank you. That if you want one, all you have to do is put your thought out, and the universe brings that intention through the wave lines like a phone and puts it here. So with that, Earth Magic, Veronica. These are new to me, so I am starting to get them. I got them like 2 weeks ago, so I had to, actually, I got them with the new moon, or the full moon. That wasn't interesting. Oh, no, the week before. Okay. So this is for Veronica. And on Instagram, if you're looking for some oracle cards, please. So it's Earth Magic, dragons, or gentle creatures. Okay, Bev, this is for you. There we go. There's the connection I was looking for. Thank you, Veronica. And if anybody else is watching and you have not spoke up yet, please speak up now if you want to, because I will actually pull some cards for you, or for the general one after I get done with whoever else. I'll do one general. There we go. I don't do this like everybody else does, but that's okay. I do mine perfectly imperfect. What do you want to tell Veronica? There we go. And it looks like you're getting two. Ooh. So you got these two, Veronica. So you got the one that was on top was autumnal equinox, and you'll have to excuse my reading here. Release. And then you also got the lake, which is stillness. Lake and the stillness. So, where did my box go? Oh, it's right in front of me. With the Earth Magic. Okay, so I got... Okay, so I've got release. And it looks like it's alphabetical. And of course, if I knew what letter came after, rainbow, river. Oh, I have to look at the top. It's not about release. It's about the autumn equinox. Look the right way, right? Like I said, these are new cards to me, so I'm figuring out how to read them, and I apologize. Oh, here it is. Okay. So release. In many areas of the world, deciduous trees prepare for the winter, and carnivores conserve their energy by constricting their life force, that is. They release their leaves, which have required the rays of the sun and the nourishment of the earth in order to maintain robust growth and appearance. It's not a decision trees make, at least not in the usual sense. Instead, it's a natural response to the decreasing cycle of the light that sets up for the gradual and steady release of the tree's leaves. However how remarkable it is that these trees, and for this matter, all of Earth's mother's children simply know what to do with the changes in the climate. Although this seasonal shift appears to be a death of sorts, it's only a preparation for the next cycle of life, one that will naturally follow more extreme constriction of winter as an aspect of the life and death rebirth cycle, and that we find requested in the many different ways. Now is the time to let anything in your life fall away that is no longer useful or needed for the energies emerging expression of who you are. Allow yourself to gradually shed what has become burdensome or no longer congruent with your soul's purpose. Conserve your energy by allowing yourself more rest while at the same time making preparation for winter season. Look especially at your mental possessions, not mental possessions, material possessions, and be brutally honest with yourself as you discern which of these can be given away or somehow released. Consider shedding relationships that have served their purpose and are no longer valuable, as well as work or a job that has become devoid of interest and passion. With the release comes a sense of being much lighter, just like the trees that openly bear their nakedness once their leaves have dap- have departed, and give room for whatever new life is ready to rebirth following the period of quiet and gestation. So let go of whatever has outlived the purposefulness and trust the something else that will take its place. Yeah, I kind of talked about that, didn't I? So stillness, lake stillness. And I may actually take a picture of this. Well, I'll read it because I think there's other things that can be um, others that can hear this too, because there was something about that releasing, because we're in that ebb of the full moon releasing so we can gain what the new moon wants to bring in, right? It's a dance. It's a dance of life. Oy, oy, oy. Sometimes it's a little interesting. Lake. Okay, so the tempo of life these days has sped up considerably, and there seems to be no end to the quickening pace. Immersed as we are in the technology whirlpool, there seems to be no escape. However, there is no need to be a prisoner to the hurry up syndrome, nor is there a need to feel trapped in the awareness of life, of the collective intentions of the massive numbers of humans that are experiencing these days. So, this is about stillness, Veronica. No matter if the noise is from your environment or your seemingly nonstop thinking, it is critical for you to seek stillness. Find it in your world, whether it is a special place in your home or a place in nature that is far from human made noise. Of particular importance is finding it inside yourself, which can be made easier by being in a quiet place in a natural setting. Doing so is not only relaxes your mind, but it also heightens your awareness and senses. So it's about release and stillness. So basically, both of them go hand in hand, right? To release brings you to stillness. Sometimes you have to be in stillness to release. So I hope that helps, Veronica. And I hope my reading was okay today. Been kind of just going in my dyslexic mode here. Okay, so Bev. And remember, if you don't ask for a card, these cards are good for you too. So there's something about that everybody, I know I was getting something out of that for me too. So with that it helped. Good, thank you. Okay, so now Bev, this is, nope, you're not dragons. You are gentle creatures. Hi, Sue. Just joining in. Yes, we're pulling oracle cards. So I have dragons, gentle creatures, and I have this new deck that is there we go. Earth magic, that's new. So if you would like to have one, but this today was about valuing yourself, valuing others, and that journey of what value. So I felt it was a good one, but it is what it is. So Bev, if you can put your energies out there and let the messages of the gentle creatures come for you. Okay, so I'll do earth magic for you when I am done with Bev and the gentle creatures. Okay, so there we go. Oop, almost gave myself a paper cut. There you are. Okay, yeah, this one. Top one. Meat. Isn't that cute? Meat. I love these pictures because there's the birds and then there's this little being. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little being that's down that he's looking at. A little being. Okay, so this one's meat for Bev. Remember, if you don't get a card, then whatever I'm reading can mean something for you. So meat. There we go. Okay. A flight of brightly blue hunger. The flight of blue birds startle the sight of a gentle creature. They have taken wing in a panic, but because these creatures have simply stopped, the curious little birds began to mull about. You can almost hear them twittering to one another about this stranger. Who is it? What is it? What is its purpose? Will it hurt them? As they flirt around, they begin to settle down. One even swoops so low it can look up at the stranger's eye of the immersed being. In our world, we have all been both stranger and part of the flock. No matter which side you may be on right now, remember how it feels to be the other side. What was fearful to you once may be as comforting as dirt to another. Do you remember the first day at your new school? Where others might have swirled around like these bits of feathers? Or when a new person walked in to the office, do you gather with those familiar to you to discuss this newcomer? In its natural thing, when this card shows up, ask yourself what is causing your own boogie response. So, in other words, what are you flittering about that you may not need to, right? But jumping up in response. Take time to learn enough about someone or something so that what was once strange turns into familiar sight. And isn't that what I was talking about with the giving things enough chance to be into interaction instead of reaction, right? I think I gave myself a paper cut. So how can you be interactionary to the things around you so that you can become this gentle creature that just says, "Hi, how are you?" Oh, on podcasts, I wish you can see these guys. They're so cute. Okay, so hope that helps, Bev. I really do. Okay. Oh, wait a minute, Bev. Is there one more for you? Yes, there is. Past. Past. Look at that guy. One's looking backwards, one's going forward, but they're riding together. I think we've had this card before. Past. Along the way, we are gifted so many things. Here, on the tandem bike ride, one friend looks ahead to keep both riders on track. The other looks behind to see what's behind them. He is greeted by the sight of a friendly bird hurrying to catch up with them. When we remember to examine our surroundings, what amazing things we find. It is all well and good to focus on the future, but we should never forget friends and experiences from the past. The question you might want to ask yourself in this card is, what lessons from my past can help me right now? And or who am I forgetting from my past that could possibly help me in my current situation? So pedal forward in the future, but always consider what is behind you. Buried in the past are small treasures, memories, and people who can still be there for you. So, Bev, I know you've gone through a lot of grief, and know that your family is there for you in that way too. Blessings to you. Okay, so let's go for the magic for Sue. Okay, and this might be the last card because I got to get going. So, Sue. Oh, dragon wants to come for everybody. Okay. Earth magic for Susan. What card do you want for Sue? Sue, just put your intentions in there. Ah! I had two that have. Oh, three. Okay, so the autumn release again, and I'll just brush over that one. And then you got forest, breathe, and activation wind was the last one. Okay. So the release was, and I'll just read that, just refresh it. It was basically, because we just read that one, Sue. So I'm sorry if you missed that one. You probably caught the end of it. So it was basically about the trees releasing, knowing that that there's going to be new coming back in. So it was talking about being able to be bare leaved and knowing that life is happening. Okay, I appreciate that. Sorry about it being quick here. It was a long read. But it's about being willing to release so that the new can come in. Sometimes we have to be very diligent about what we have and things. Me too, to be honest with you, and start releasing because I'm asking for things to come in, and so old has to be released. Okay, and then breathe, breath, breathe, forest. Realizing how to look up these DEF. FOGFOR. Forest, breathe. Okay. So making your way across the meadow, your breathing is too shallow. Although it may feel natural, it is an unhealthy habit that comes in shortness of breath. When you subconsciously shorten your breath, no matter this is habitual or triggered by some event or circumstance, it activates a certain physiology sign that prepares your system for fight or flight. Another condition response to perceived danger is to hold your breath. This is a survival response, although it does not serve you to do so. So holding our breath does not serve us, does it? So breathe. Inhale deeply, regardless of the concerns, worries, or problems. Then let it go. Next, allow yourself to breathe a little deeper and slower a few times. Remember that every breath you inhale is a gift, and every breath you exhale is a gift. The forest is a clear reminder of how this works. So breathing. And then wind. You need air, wind, activation. So breathing brings you back to neutrality, which gives you a chance to activate. Oh, I love these cards. I love how any oracle card, if you work with it, it could be a sentence. Wind, activation. Okay. The lethargy you feel is a result of the lack of activeness. In other words, something that stirs your senses. This could be anything from walking outdoors, feeling a breeze on your body, or inhaling in different aromas that nature itself provides. Or it could be finding the pleasure of a warm bath that helps you release the tensions and the stresses from your mind and body. Music may activate your hearing, which sparks the pleasure centers of your brain. Art may activate your emotional response. The touch of another human may activate the deep need for physicality held in some manner. Once again, now is the time for activation. Engage in some activity to be fully present so that you forget about your surroundings and enter into that timeless, multidimensional experience of union with the focus of your creative attention. Let your physical body be active. Movement alone, whether quietly dancing by yourself or hiking up a hill over yonder, will require you to be present as possible in your body. Enjoy. So it's about releasing so that we can be still and then get active, because that is part of that breath in. It's that breath out, release, breathe in, right? And then breathe out. I think that is just a good balance for everyone right now. Because in that middle of breath, when there's no breath, that's where stillness happens. And that's where we can gain some, I want to call it sanity. Sanity. Let go to create room for new. Breathe to make space to and ground. Then activate. Thank you very much for that reading. You're more than welcome. I hope everybody can use something with that one, because I think that was a good one to end on. Blessings all to all. And next week on Monday with Regan Forston, we are going to be talking about the DNA karma of our family's past, the family, grandparents, mothers, fathers, our DNA of karma from our physical bodies, and our past lives, because there is karma from past lives. So karma from our physical bodies and our families, and from our past lives. That should be an interesting conversation we're going to have on Monday. So blessings to all. May you know that you are loved. May you know that each one of you has an angel. So when you are looking at life and knowing where to go, please know that you are blessed. And thank you, everyone, for being here. I hope to see you on Monday, and know that if you know of anybody who wants to listen to podcasts, this show will be on a podcast, any platform. And this will also be on my YouTube channel if you would like to watch later. Blessings to you, and know that, like I said, you're loved. Bye now.